Do do do, theme song. Do do do, I'm broke, so this is my theme song. Do do do, just imagine this is an awesome theme song. Do do, theme song. Left of the box. Hello, welcome to Left of the Box. Bonjour, bienvenue. I'm Sandy. I didn't do that in the close-up. Let's do that again. There. Hello, welcome to Left of the Box. Bonjour, bienvenue. I'm still Sandy. Yeah, I wasn't entirely sure I'd be streaming tonight. My energy has been really low. I feel like I have a mild cold. I took a COVID test. It came back negative. And I kind of wish that if I had a cold, I would actually be like sick, because then I would know what it is instead of just wondering if it's just stress, you know? If I had a cold, then I know it's that and that it would cycle through and that's that. But instead, I just feel really drained all the time and kind of sicky and coughy and stuff. Anyway, enough about me. Although this is my channel, so it's always about me. Thank you for coming out. So far in the Sandbox, we have Monope, Soul Life, BKK, Mini Doctors, Looney Tunes 9000s, Hunger Games 1989, Mud Buds, Schmigly, The Anti-Corporatist, Good for Gabby. Wow, so many wonderful people out. Thank you so much. Yeah. This outfit, I tell you, Majority Report t-shirt with this type of, going to a club makeup. I don't know if it's really like a good match, but I like it. I don't care. Majority Report. This is, white eyeshadow, black eyeliner, thick, red lipstick. That's my Majority Report makeup look that I have done. So I just felt it was right since I was wearing the Majority Report t-shirt. They should wear them more on their show. They never wear their own merchandise on their show, but it's like, it would really actually, I think, help the sales if you did that. Oh. Okay, so what I have planned today is nothing really in particular. Basically, whenever I do a live stream, I usually try to gather up a bunch of story clips, tweets, things about a topic, and then I try to lay them out in a way that tells a story. But I always have like all these one-off news articles or tweets that I think are interesting and I want to talk about it or explore it a bit more, but then they never really fit in, and then I usually end up rambling. And so then I never get around to them, but they remain in the web browser. So I thought today what I would do is just go through a whole bunch of them. There's no particular order. There are some groupings of similar topics together. I don't really have anything planned out on what to say about them. Some of them I haven't even read the article yet, and it's kind of like on my docket because like, this is probably something I should read. Most of it is Canadian. Actually, I think all of it is Canadian related. There's some social issues in there, that is not any country specific. Yeah. So I thought it would be a little bit of a change today. I'm not going to be covering any of the updates on Next Benedict right now because I'm going to be covering more. There's a lot more to cover in that story, and I will do that in my next live stream. Because there's been new developments. Well, not even so much new development, just more information is out, and I want to give that story like devoted time so I can focus on it a bit more, and there is a lot to cover on it. So I said this is going to be like a more casual, laid-back stream. However, some of these stories are still really infuriating, so we'll get to them, and I'll try to hammer through them. It's trying to find a balance. I want to give some smart, snippy analysis, but at the same time, I kind of want to cycle through. But at the same time, I don't want to just sound like I'm reading news articles and stuff. So we'll see how many of this I get through. If you saw how many tabs I have open right now, you'd be laughing. Like, there's no way that I'm going to be doing this, and I might have to do another one of these streams. Most of the stories in here too are not even, they're called evergreens, which means they're not specific to anything that's breaking out in the news right now necessarily, but some of them are kind of like current-ish news. Anyway, why don't we actually get through to it? So I'm just going to quickly check in the Sandbox. Mini doctors, my energy is low too. Yeah. For the last, ever since I kind of went on my little mini vacation in January, my goal was to start waking up earlier so I could start going to the gym in the morning, because in the morning is when there's fewer people there. And I like the idea of going, you know, before noon, getting home by noon. My God, I don't know if I can do it. I've been struggling to just wake up at 10. And it's, I'm such a night person by nature. And I'm still struggling. I have been doing some at-home workouts like yoga and arm exercises because I desperately, desperately want to get in shape, like build muscle in shape type thing. So we'll see. It is something that I'm really struggling to work towards. Let's see. BKK, Gabby is right. Sandy is always lovely. Why, thank you. You like the club majority report look, huh? Coffee is necessary now. Rebel HQ is nothing without you. Why, thank you. I'm not even sure if it's sustainable at this time with all the changes that have been happening at TYT from what I've been hearing. Unless they just keep on cycling through new people and whatnot. Anyway, why don't we just get to it? And this first article that I kind of have on the docket, I haven't actually read yet, so we'll go through some of it, and if I'm getting like huge boredom vibes from it, we can move on. That's how this is going to work. And technically speaking, this is probably a boring topic, but it's important Canadian news context stuff. Let's see. So, from Global News, exclusive, Premier Doug Ford's 2018 mandate letters demanded saving by year 2. Now, I remember there were court battles to get his mandate letters public, which shouldn't be a thing, but the reality is Doug Ford was trying to hide his big plan from the public. And so they actually had to fight for this, whereas normally mandate letters from premiers would be released and people would know what's kind of going on. But he fought tooth and nail to fight this. I'm just going to quickly scroll past the not noticing if I have an ad blocker on or not. So this article is, I think it's fairly, when did this article come out? So it's fairly recent. It popped up in my radar when I was covering something else. It's from September 13th, 2023. When Ontario Premier Doug Ford took over the reins of provincial government in 2018, he was determined to expedite a central campaign promise, make government more efficient by shaving 4 cents of every dollar spent by Queen's Park. Okay, already I know he failed. He failed at this. No. He has wasted so much money. There's a good update that I'll get to at the end of this. There is so much unaccounted for money, so much money that has gone to waste, so much money that has just gone into the pockets of his wealthy donors and his friends. It's ridiculous how much money could have been used towards public services. Like, that's the thing. When conservatives say to me, oh, they don't want to pay any more in taxes, my response is usually, I'd be fine paying more in taxes if I knew the money is actually going where it's supposed to be going. And quite often it's not, which is really frustrating. Because if all the money that was allocated for healthcare, for public services, for municipalities, like all of that, if it was actually spent according to plan and according to the way that people wanted, we'd be in a much better situation than we are right now, which is just super frustrating knowing we have the money. Like, that's the thing. People are always like, oh, where's the money? We have it. It's there. We have billions of dollars available for these programs that we desperately want. But we have dumbasses like Doug Ford in power who'd much rather funnel that money, siphon that money off to his developer buddies and friends and keep it in the pockets of wealthy people as opposed to, putting it out to the public services. He'd much rather, bleed those public services dry so that there's more, leniency, more, not encouragement, what's the word? More willingness, more acceptance with the going private sector with a lot of stuff, which then in turn also then just funnels more money into the pockets of his wealthy buddies. So not only is he funneling government money into the pockets of his wealthy buddies, but then by privatizing these certain services, those same wealthy buddies make even more money. Kind of sick. So instead, the progressive conservative, that's still always been a progressive conservative. Like that's an actual name of a party. It just blows my mind that people don't see how ironic that is. Anyway, instead, the progressive conservative government's first budget delivered by then Finance Minister Vic Fedeli in 2019 triggered a firestorm of controversy over the planned cuts in spending and likely led to Fedeli's removal from the position. Fedeli's instruction, however, came directly from Premier Ford, who set out a 3-year timeline to balance the budget, leading to billions of dollars slashed from the fiscal plan. And again, average public person will think, oh, they're trying to balance the budget, you don't want to be in a deficit and all this sort of stuff. And they say this like this is the same as a household budget. It's not. It's really not. You don't want to be in deficit or debt in a household, but it is what it is with the government. Like that's par for the course. It's nothing that is alarming or to be worried about. Like, yeah, sure, you want to narrow that gap when possible, but it's not the same thing. And so suddenly slashing billions of dollars isn't necessarily, to narrow that deficit for the sake of narrowing that deficit isn't a good thing because it has long-term consequences such as our public sector, our healthcare being demolished. For the first time, Global News can reveal the financial mandates given to the Minister of Finance, Treasury Board presidents, and all the cabinet ministers, instructing them to identify efficiencies and savings in their individual ministries. The information comes from mandate letters obtained exclusively by Global News. Well, now I'm using it on my live stream. So it's exclusively LeftoftheBox live streaming this because I don't think anyone else would find this interesting enough to live stream. But I like I said, I remember talk about this subject, so I'm thinking, why not educate us a little bit more on why these mandate letters were hidden? Ford's instructions to his cabinet minister in 2018 made it clear that the government intended to usher in a cultural change, one that was focused on spending restraints and fiscal responsibility, all while maintaining services residents rely on. Wow, that did not. No, fiscal responsibility. Yeah, that's not. Conservatives say that all the time, but do they actually know the meaning of it? While maintaining services residents rely on. I have some healthcare stories mixed in with all of this that we'll get to, so they've been doing a poor job of maintaining those services. As we move ahead with our plan to restore a strong economy and to make life more affordable for the great people of this province, we will begin to do so by eliminating wasteful government spending, cutting red tape. Making government more efficient, Ford said in his mandate letter addressed to all ministers. I'm laughing because that so is not what happened. Life has not become more affordable for the average person. It's become far more expensive, and there's been a ton of wasteful government spending. This means reviewing all spending within your ministry to identify efficiencies, program redesign, and savings that can be implemented over the course of our mandate. To realize maximum efficiencies on a short timetable, Ford directed the Ministers of Finance and Treasury Board President to work together to implement the government's primary cost-cutting objective. Fedeli was told to take a practical, reasonable approach to Ontario's finances by returning to a balanced budget as quickly as possible. Ford's direction to his then Treasury Board President, Peter Bethenlaflauli, were more specific. He was to act as the enforcer and keep the cabinet ministers in check. Bethenlaflauli, the Premier's letter stated, was to deliver demonstrable savings by year 2, with full savings in place by the end of the government's 3rd year. And they mean like the 3rd year of his first term, because we're way beyond this now. So we know how effective this mandate letter was, as in it wasn't. The savings goal will be made clear to you all, expected to hold your cabinet colleagues accountable for meeting this target, coordinated with the ministers of finance, the letter read. Read the letter. Read the letter, read the letter. You know, that's the thing about English that always drives me crazy, is you can change those 3 words in their order and it still means the exact same thing. Grammatically, how you hear it. And then when I'm dyslexic, I just automatically do it in my brain. Anyway, what I was going to make a quip about this is, you know, if he's telling the ministers that they're supposed to hold their colleagues accountable, maybe they should be doing that with Doug Ford. I'm just saying. Maybe they should follow his advice and actually hold Doug Ford accountable for, you know, all the backroom deals that he was doing. Like, he's under investigation right now for so many controversies. It's ridiculous. It'd be nice if those ministers actually held him accountable like he told them to do. The result was a steady stream of cuts that delivered a severe political blow to a government still finding its feet. Fedeli's budget in 2019 proved to be so politically toxic to the Conservative brand that the then federal Conservative leader, Andrew Scheer, refused to campaign or even mention Ford during the national election. I remember that. It was funny. I thought that was funny, that Doug Ford was just so bad that even the horrible leader, Andrew Scheer, was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to touch that. I believe this was the election where the federal Conservative Party slogan was "Secure the Future." I believe it was that one, or was that one when O'Toole? No, that was when O'Toole was running. Anyway, that was still a federal Conservative Party slogan. And that federal Conservative Party found Doug Ford to be a little bit too toxic for their liking. The budget also gave Prime Minister Justin Trudeau a foil to campaign against. Ford would then spend much of the next year undoing the damages by reversing some of the decisions included in the fiscal document. Oh, Bill 124 and labor peace. Yeah, we're going to get to that. Good news. Good news there. How long is this article? Maybe I should have checked that first. That's really long. I don't know if I want to go through all of this. My ADHD is kicking in already. Hopefully I'm reading this in such a way that it keeps people entertained. One of the central, most controversial policy pieces introduced by the Ford government during its first mandate aimed to protect the sustainability of the province's finances by capping all the wages of public sector employees. Yes, during COVID, he wanted public sector employees, their wage increases to be capped at 1% during COVID. 1%. While the mandate letter to the Treasury Board president didn't include the specific instructions on wage restraints legislation, the 2018 mandate letter provided clues as to how Bill 124 was conceptualized by Bethlehem Lindsay's ministry. The law capped public sector pay at 1% per year for 3 years. The direction from the Premier's office was to improve Ontario's fiscal situation by making everyone really sick. Like, that's the thing. You want to improve the fiscal situation, but at what cost? Losing healthcare workers? Like, just having them completely leave the industry because their pay was capped at 1%? By demanding more of them without any compensation? Is that worth an improved fiscal situation? The health and the well-being of the people in the province? To balance the budget as quickly as possible, and most importantly, to take the lead in labor negotiations. The mandate letter said, work with the ministers of labor on developing these relationships and evaluate options, not opinions, as options to update the labor relations process, including arbitration reforms, to better serve Ontario taxpayers and citizens. Bethlehem was also instructed to create and maintain public sector labor peace while protecting taxpayers. Ah, yes, they did the whole back to work legislation thing when public sector workers, the QP union, when they went on strike, they threatened to do the whole back to work stuff. Yeah, that's all about, negotiations. Let's just see. We'll read a little bit more of this. And then, yeah, we'll read this part, and then I'll take a quick glance at the rest of it to see if we want to continue. While the Treasury Board was left to decipher how to best deliver the mandate letter, the rest of Ontario Cabinet was warned to prepare for a crackdown, as the government was expecting to face competing priorities from multiple interests. Yes, which developer do you want to funnel money towards? The developer that gave you lots and lots of money during your campaign, or the developer you've been buddies with all your life? Like, which one? Which one gets the money? According to Ford's letter, that meant certain legacy and institutional interests that are used to getting their way with government will likely now find themselves on the losing side of some of our decision. Yes, those healthcare workers just always getting what they think they should get. How dare they? Yeah, they're just so used to getting their way. Teachers and healthcare workers, they're so demanding. The response from some sectors to the government new labor policies would be disruptive, Ford said. That led, there were strikes. There was that. I am comfortable with that fact. You need to be too. Yes. Let's force all of the public sector workers to go on strike, then blame them for not playing ball, is pretty much what they were doing. Although it kind of backfired, because this time it was so egregious that even the public was getting behind the strikers, which, oddly enough, is not all that common, because people hate when their lives are being disrupted. So, if their kids can't go to school or something of that sort, then they usually get really upset themselves. But, this time, a lot of the public were like, no, you need to pay them. You need to pay them. The government needs to fix this. It's not on the workers, it's on the government. So Bill 124 triggered years of protest against the government's policy, union-led court challenges, and more recently arbitration decisions that heavily flavored roughly 780,000 broader public sector workers. The Ford government has continued the legal fights to reinstate Bill 124, which was overturned in November and declared unconstitutional. Yes, fiscal responsibility at the expense of your constitutional rights. According to Ontario's Financial Accountability Officer, the government's cost-saving measure could add up to $8.4 billion in back pay. The bill is still being calculated and settlements with unions are still being reached. Yeah, so by not paying the public sector workers, year by year by year, all of a sudden they're going to get one massive hit. Which, to what I have to say, pay them. You pay them that back pay. You give them all of that back pay, and then you increase their wages. How about that? Public sector workers are worth the money. They're worth that investment. Ooh. Mandate letter finance. The following lists instructions given to the then finance minister, Vic Fedeli. So these are some of the actual things that were in the mandate letters. Let's see. If you want me to sarcastically go over some of these, put a 1 in the comments section right now. If not, if you want me to move on to the next story before I sarcastically read what was in this mandate letters, put a 2. So 1 if you want me to sarcastically read it, 2 if you want me to move on. And there's a bit of delay, so I'll check some of the Sandbox while I'm at it. Hunger Games 1989. Maybe you should stop throwing homeless people and trans people under the bus, Jane Kuger. Oh, more TYT drama, I take it. Oh, was there actually somebody in chat named Jank or something? Like some sort of Jank name stuff? I don't know. Good for Gabby. Jank is a troll. Let's see. My dogs are goth while pretending they don't use money. I think talking about fiscal responsibility and all that sort of stuff. Let's see. Okay, I got a couple 2s in the chat. Completely understandable. You can find the article if you actually want to read the details of the mandate letter. So we will move on to the next story. My dogs are goth. Jank himself was here. I seriously doubt Jank was checking out my live stream, but, thanks. Especially, when TYT is live. Somebody saying dealer's choice to my thing. Oh, that's the thing. Absolutely nothing wrong with moving on. Let's see. Okay, so this next news article, I'm not even necessarily going to read much of because it's just another one in an ongoing thing. And this is part of the reason why I didn't want to do too much, like make this into another segment all on its own, is because I've covered this topic plenty of times, but it's good to know nothing's changing. From CBC News, rent hits another record high in January as average asking prices reaches $2,196. Highest jump was in Edmonton with prices 17% since last year. I'm sure everybody's wages match that. Yeah. Huh. Oh, and you can see over here on the side, Polyev says biological males should be banned from women's sport change room and bathroom. I will be covering more of that when I go more into detail with Next Benedict and their story in my next live stream, because it's all kind of connected. This is a super short article too, but we don't need to read that part because I just read it. According to data released Wednesday by rentals.ca and market research, the asking price went up 20% So $373 per month compared to rental prices from January 2020, 2 months before COVID-19 pandemic lockdowns began. So yeah, we all know rent prices have soared, especially here in Ontario. They've been going up like crazy, partly because Doug Ford got rid of rent control. Also, investors keep on buying up rental properties. Not enough new rental properties are being made. Not enough affordable new rental properties are being made. Quite often, the only rental buildings being built are for luxury rentals, whatever that means, which is just a way of saying, oh, we're going to charge way above market rent for these one-bedroom tiny apartments because we put in a marble countertop or something like that. But like, here's the thing. This is a federal, provincial, and municipal issue. All three levels of government need to be doing something about this. And I don't know how much longer we can deal with this. Like, what is the breaking point for people? When do people like hit the streets with this? Because renting is unaffordable for so many people across this country. And for the people who it is affordable, it's at the expense of living a decent life. No hobbies, no vacations, no time with your family and friends because you have to be working all the time. At what point do people just snap? Because I'd say we are well past that point, and yet still, so many people just put up with it. And unfortunately, it's people living with disabilities that are hit the most with this because a lot of us are on fixed incomes, which is well below market rent. The problem is that people with disabilities, we can't just go on strike. How? Like, if we were to go on strike, how does that disrupt anything? It doesn't, because we're already invisible to the public eye. So if we go on strike, who would even notice, really? And not to mention that because of our disabilities, many people can't physically go out to locations to protest, to have strikes. Some people can't afford to, some people can't take transit, some people, have mental health issues that prevents them from going in crowds. Some are immunocompromised and can't take that risk. Some of them have physical disabilities, which make it very difficult for them to go out. So how do we make it known that this is unacceptable? Like, how much longer before the average person just finally snaps and says something needs to be done? Like, this is just, like, that's the thing I say, like, don't wait for it to be your problem before you get involved. And part of that is, by the time it's your problem, you're going to be so busy dealing with it and struggling that you then won't have the energy to actually fight back. But the other part of it is, by the time it's the average person's problem, so many other people have suffered already. And a lot of that could have been prevented had people just had the foresight to say, you know what, this is going to become a bigger problem. Why don't we step up now to prevent this from happening in the first place? So a bit more from the article. The cost of a one-bedroom rental also continued to increase with annual growth of 12.6% in January. Vancouver had the highest average asking price for one bedrooms at $2,683, with Burnaby, BC, close behind at an average asking price of a little less than that, followed by Toronto. Saskatoon was the least expensive city for a one-bedroom rental, with an average asking price of $1,192, which is, if you were to be on Ontario disability, I don't know off the top of my head what the rates are in Saskatoon for disability, you'd have like $100 left over for the month. Across 4 provinces, Alberta, BC, Ontario, Quebec, the average asking rent for living spaces shared roommates was up by 18.5% annually to over $1,000 in January. So you have to pay for over $1,000 for shared accommodations. Wow. Yeah. So that's, I still find it important to, even though nothing has been changing with that recently, and I've covered housing costs before, it's still important to have reminders that it's getting worse and people need to start doing something about it. Sometimes it is just as simple as educating people. Most people who don't need to rent don't know how bad it's gotten. And even people who have been in their rental contracts for years and years and years and had a fixed rental rate way back when, unless they're looking for a new apartment, they don't know how bad it's gotten. So it's important for people to know because everyone is on such a precarious place right now because people who have been safely renting for decades could suddenly find that their building is going to be torn down or their landlord renovicts them or something forces them out of their place and there is nowhere affordable for them to go. People with houses and stuff, with the cost of living shooting up, might not be able to afford their mortgages anymore, might not be able to maintain a house anymore, and might have to turn to renting suddenly, only to find there's nothing affordable. It's important for people to know how bad this has gotten, even if renting a new property is something that is not even on the top of their mind, because so many people do need to rent. Yes, so let's check the sandbox and then we'll move on to the next topic. Azira Wanger, when is the next live stream? The plan is Sunday at 6 p.m. Providing my energy and mental health kind of holds up. Part of it is I think 3 live streams a week is a bit much for me, even though that's exactly what I'm doing this week. Because I had one Wednesday, I'm doing one tonight, and one on Sunday, hopefully. Because part of it is I then want to start clipping these videos. That's another day's worth of work for me to do that. It takes me a day to go through, find the clips I want, edit the clips by taking out these long pauses I tend to do, not when I'm speed reading, oddly enough, not when I'm in this mood. I don't seem to be pausing that much in my speech, so there wouldn't be much to clip out in between, other than my little rambly parts that really don't have anything to do with the story. So I have to rewatch the segments, then edit the segments down, clip out the unnecessary parts and things of that sort, re-render, upload them. So clipping one video, it's a day-long process. So 3 live streams a week is 6 days of work for me. So we'll see. But the clips are important. Although some of them aren't doing that great, some are doing really good. And it's important that I keep on throwing the clips out there in hopes that, they start to help my channel just get into people's algorithms. The YouTube likes consistency. So now that I've started, I kind of need to keep on doing it to help my channel in the algorithms. It's a lot of work in hopes that it will pay off later. Let's see. Crotchety, conservatives, we want to start a rent-to-own policy. Renters, how does this help me afford housing? Yeah. Azira, I became homeless and got lucky to find a room to rent in my landlord's home. Most one-bedroom apartments in my city start at $1,200. Yeah. It is just, and I've talked about it before when we talk about it, it leaves people in such dangerous situations too, because let's say you have an abusive landlord, an abusive partner, an abusive neighbor. A lot of people can't afford to move from that situation. They can't afford to then go get a new place. So they're forced to live in harmful situations. Or maybe you want to move in with somebody, but you can't because, if you're on disability, that can take a hit if you live with somebody as a partner type thing. There's so much that prevents people from moving. Like even if you want to move to a new city because there's a better potential for a job, you're stuck. Or if you want to move closer to family or friends or anything, you quite often have no choice. you have to just deal with whatever you get. Like when I was forced to move from my last apartment because they were tearing the building down, I was fortunate enough that the landlords, the owners, the rental company moved my contract to another one of their buildings, but I had no say. I had no say. I was forced out of my home and I had no choice in where I was moved. And this might happen again. And I have no say. And that loss of autonomy, that loss of choice really is degrading as, an adult with independence and the ability to choose your own path in life. Oh, and if I were to go unhoused now because I have been homeless, I don't know if it'd be possible for me to get out of that situation again because things have changed so much since the time that I was unhoused. Um, There, the anti-corporatus. There's an AI plugin for premieres for that, Sandy. It takes about 45 seconds. Huh. I have no idea what that means, but thank you. My dogs are goth. I love the rambly parts. Well, you get a lot of them. Nope, I like the clips, Sandy. I try to watch whenever YouTube serves them up to me. Thank you. It's important, even if you watch live streams, it helps, and I appreciate because I can tell there's been a boost. Everyone just go and rewatch those clips. Like, you don't have to actually watch them. Cheat. I ain't telling you to cheat the algorithms. By all means, cheat. You open it up, you click play, you mute it, you go to a new tab. You don't need to continue watching the whole thing over and over again. You can even put them into a own little, playlist so that you can cycle through them and you don't even have to actively click on new ones. I just got something in my eye, sorry. You can do that and help artificially boost them because I'm trying to get them at least over 100 views each, and a couple of them are struggling to get there. So I rewatch them all every day. I have to open up a new browser because since it's my YouTube channel, if I click on one of my videos, I actually have to keep that screen open. If I click to a new YouTube tab, it stops it. So I have to actually open up a new browser to do that. So, but I do that. I watch all those videos that are under 100 views every day on 2 different systems usually. So, yeah. Crotchety, I found out about Left of the Box through Majority Report, as well as Sam Cedar being a guest on Left of the Box, and I'm watching because I live in BC, so the content is relevant to me. Why, thank you. I'll plug the Majority Report. Huge fan of the show, as a lot of people know, and it is great having him on my show. I wish I could get him back on here again, but he doesn't reply to my DMs, probably because he's never on Twitter anymore. Let's see. Nope, I moved out of my rent-to-own situation because it was so toxic and then got kicked out of the next place because I moved to a lofa in the shower. Disability is so frustrating. Yeah, I get where you're going with that. Okay. What? You see, this is a lot of this. I don't even know what is next on my docket until I click on it because some of these tabs have been here for so long. Yes. Misogyny. Let's get to this one. Again, some of these I just want to touch on. It's not even necessarily for a segment, but I think it's important just to point these things out when we see them. So from Erica on Twitter, great person to follow if you're still on Twitter. Does Jesse Brown need therapy? What kind of boys will be boys shit is this? And so Jesse Brown is a publisher of Canada Land. There's been some issues about Canada Land in general lately. So Jesse Brown had tweeted out the Taylor Swift porn in it. I'll start that over. Jesse Brown had tweeted out The Taylor Swift porn images were gross, but also absurd and obviously AI. We need laws against deepfake porn that tells convincing lies. But these were just horny fanfic, and horny fanfic should not be a crime. Yeah, what kind of boys will be boy shit is this? Like, uh, uh, no. You know, there isn't that line of if it's convincing, then it shouldn't be allowed. But, you know, if the attempt to violate someone's, image in that way, if it's not successful because it's not exactly convincing, then it should be allowed because it's just, you know, horny men being horny, doing horny stuff because horny is. And there's no sense in trying to get men to actually understand that they're violating women when they do this, to understand how objectified and vulnerable this can make women. There's no attempt to maybe educate men on that, or maybe to help men find different ways of outlets for their horniness, as opposed to take a celebrity and make fake porn of them to spread all over the internet. No, it's just boys being boys. You shouldn't be mad at that. Absolutely gross. You can tell how long this has been in my docket because this story happened a while ago. For those of you who don't know, apparently it was all over the internet a little while ago. There was AI deepfake porns of Taylor Swift going around. And that is absolutely not okay. It's not okay. It is an attempt to humiliate that person. Whenever they do deep fake porn, it's an attempt to abuse that person, to, objectify them and make them feel like they have no control over their image. I'm going to make this a bit bigger. And it's absolutely disgusting that this man here is telling other people how they shouldn't be offended when it's their image that's being used. Because he probably will fall into that category of, oh, if somebody made AI porn about me, I wouldn't care. First of all, not a risk. Also, it's a different dynamic. Like, so many men will constantly be like, oh, I wish women who would sexually harass me and do all this sort of stuff. And it's not the same thing. Also, not all men would like that. So for the men who say that, oh yeah, sure, they would like it, there's a comedian I once watched who kind of wrapped that up in a nutshell, like sexual harassment, like street harassments and catcalls and things of that sort. And the way that men don't seem to understand the danger that a lot of women are in when they're catcalled while walking down the street. And so he said to other men, like, just imagine how you would feel if another man catcalled you like this in prison and he was much, much bigger than you. Then suddenly there's a little bit more, well then, that could be a little bit more threatening, to say the least. Like, it starts with just porn images, but soon that won't be enough to satiate some of these horny fans. And they'll try seeking out actual images of her to spread around. You get stalkers that way. Quite honestly, there's enough porn out there. Why do you need porn of a specific person? That I don't even understand. Because there's so many bodies of all types, of all levels of beauty, of all levels of, what they do in pornography. Why then target a celebrity when you can have 1,000 just as beautiful and look very similar to Taylor Swift people out there? Then why is it so necessary to target her like this? It's because it's an attack on her autonomy. It's an attack on her image. It's an attack to make her humiliated, to make her feel like she doesn't have control of her image. And this whole boys being boys bullshit is part of the reason why we're in this situation, that it's gotten so bad, that it keeps on happening over and over again, instead of actually educating men as to why this is wrong, why this isn't okay. It just makes me mad. Makes me mad that this is a thing, that so many white privileged men in particular will sit there and say, I don't see the problem with this. He's probably also the type that watched it too. Like, that's the other thing, like when leaked photographs of some celebrities went out there and people looked at those. Okay, you are violating people's consent at that point. Like, this is no different than revenge porn. And how is that okay? It's like, oh, but it's not their real body. But that's not the point. The intent was to humiliate that person. But to go then on the swing side of this type of behavior, it came across this, which is kind of fun. I forgot to plug in my headphones before I do this. So she's like the kryptonite for sexist podcast bros. He comes up and this is oh God, what's his name again? I get all of these right-wingers mixed up in my brain. I know his name. Damn it. What is it? I'm horrible with names. The guy that's in this video that she's going against. They're all the same to me, really. I'm thinking Matt Walsh, but I know exactly it's not Matt Walsh. It's something else. Anyway, we'll get to him later on because he says other horde stuff. But this was a fun TikTok that was out there. So let's go over this.
Because of trad content, there's a ton of marriages in which women are also working and then also shoring up a lion's share of the household duties. Yeah. And that's why they're unhappy, because now they're being burdened in two directions.
Damn it, there's music playing. I never know if they're safe. But yeah, this guy, I forget his name. Just horrible person. Some of you might, oh yes, Michael Knowles. Yes, I was thinking Matt Walsh, but no, this is Matt Walsh without the beard. They're all the same to me. Hopefully the music doesn't harm this. This is part of the issue that I have with live streaming, and some of the things that I worry about is so many videos will have like random music playing in the background and I never know which is okay to share. Because a lot of this I find on Twitter and not YouTube.
But so what's the solution to that?
Men showing up more on domestic duties, but they won't because of freaking tradcons and neocons who are telling them that it's gay and beta if they do these certain tasks.
It is gay and beta most of the time, I agree.
And I also think that's why men are suffering. So for instance, like the unemployment rate of men returning back to the workforce is very, very high right now. And that's because feminists are kind of pushing for this like revanchist return to just like older times. And even though you claim you're not trying to turn the clock back, a lot of the solutions that feminists are advocating for just won't help men because
I'm just going to pause this every now and then, just in case the music is an issue. To be like, I'm adding some content here, I'm contributing, I'm transforming the content. But yes, Michael Knowles is an idiot, and he doesn't believe any of the stuff that he spews. Like, there are some out there, some of these right-wing horrible people that do believe what they say. Michael Knowles is not one of them, as, you know, a lot of people pointed out. He was in a movie when he was younger where he played a gay guy having gay sex. All Michael Knowles is interested in is fame. That's it. He just wants fame. But I'm not sure who this woman is, but I've seen her in other types of videos like this before. Absolutely kick-ass. And I could only hope that should I ever be in the position where I get to confront these right-wing idiots, that I could be, you know, even half as articulate and quick as she is. Unfortunately, I think it's something I would need practice with. And that's not, you know, my first attempts are not exactly something I would want broadcasted, but that's the only way they would happen, which is part of the reason why I'm not into the debate bro kind of culture, because I imagine at some point I would be quite good at it, but not right away, and then it would damage all my chances to go forward, I think.
burgeoning sectors right now are overly feminized. It's stuff like nursing, childcare, hospitality, and these industries are actually reaching out to men and they're trying to recruit them, but a lot of men will turn them down, and instead they're sitting on their ass, they're addicted to opiates. Like over half of unemployed men are addicted to some sort of painkiller. They're playing video games all day, they're to porn, which is yes, one problem, but there's so many others. And feminism is was telling men, like, leave your toxic masculinity behind, join a nursing career, join a teaching career, but they won't do it because of trad cons and neocons telling them that they're gay and beta if they do these kind of like unwarrior like positions.
But I do
But I
think
do
it's
think
not
that,
just a matter of social construction. I think women are more nurturing.
yeah. But I do think those are women's jobs. Men shouldn't be doing those women jobs. So even though there's more of those women jobs out there, men shouldn't be doing those women jobs. They should rather just be at home, not contributing to the household, not playing their manly man role, because it's better to not have a job than to have a job that is specific to another gender. Yeah, that's what he thinks. Uh-huh. And then they wonder why there's a shortage in some sectors and why some men can't seem to, get forward in life and all that sort of stuff. This actually reminds me, kind of a little bit of a ramble off to the side, the movie, I don't watch rom-coms by choice, but sometimes I am forced into those situations by other people being around me. And there was something, was it Meeting the Fockers or something like that? Long time ago. Whatever his name is, quite often, Ben Stiller. I think it's Ben Stiller. They're all the same to me too. All these male rom-com stars. Ben Stiller was in it, and he was meeting the parents of his fiance or something like that. And he was super nervous, and part of the worry was he was a nurse, and that wasn't very manly of him. And instead of just embracing it and trying to be like, yeah, I'm a nurse and I love it, because that's his explanation, is that he loved doing the job of what nurses get to do and being more hands-on and all that sort of stuff. But they also felt it necessary in that movie for him to prove to his soon-to-be parents-in-laws that no, he could have been a doctor. He could have, like, he passed all of this, but he made the choice to be a nurse. But he could have been a doctor. And it's like, why couldn't you have just left it at, like, no, he just wanted to be a nurse because nurses rock. How about that? Yeah. I have so many issues about rom-coms. I might make that into a video essay someday. Meet the parents. Yeah, meet the Fockers, meet the parents, something like that. But yeah, just horrible movie in general. Most rom-coms are disgustingly horrible.
Nursing programs and teaching programs have put out research of why men won't join these industries despite them reaching out, and one of the biggest reasons is because they feel like it's overly feminine. Do you think that's due to liberal feminism or due to conservatism?
No, I think it's just natural. I think
It's conservatism. That's what it is. It's not natural. It is just idiots like him trying to enforce their patriarchal stereotypes, misogyny onto the rest of society because it benefits him. That's all this is. It has nothing to do about what is natural versus what is not. Roles and dynamics have changed all throughout history, and people, they move to where the jobs are, and sometimes there's more men in a certain field than women, and sometimes it's the other way around, and sometimes they switch. And people should be free to just pursue the jobs they want without any sort of gendered pressure as to which is okay and which isn't.
the men should work, but they should maybe do things that they're more inclined to do. I don't think we need to conscript men to go become nurses wearing frilly little dresses.
Why would they be wearing frilly little dresses? Because they're a nurse. Again, just whole stereotypes of what nurses do, and it's also just, it's a peek in his brain as to what he thinks of nurses. He has to sexualize them. It's a woman's job, and he has to sexualize them by picturing them in those frilly little dresses that he usually sees around Halloween with the nurses. That's what it is. He wants to be able to sexualize them and say that, this is a feminine job, so therefore they need to be wearing these feminine little frilly dresses and all that sort of stuff. And she starts by saying, see, Why do you see that? Why do you see that?
I do see that as putting on a frilly dress to go into like nursing and hospitality.
Because you're using that example.
presupposing that it's feminine and gay. You're doing the thing.
It is more feminine. Yeah.
Yeah, he is doing the conservative thing. Let's get back to the main shot. Hopefully I don't need to take that out of my video because of the music that was playing in the background. It's so hard to tell which music is allowed, which music isn't, which video clips I can use, which I can't. It is, to me, it's all fair use. Let's check the sandbox and then we'll get on to the next clip. It's only been an hour and I've gotten through a quarter of the tabs I have open. Oh. Let's see. Oh, Monope saying that you had to move the loofah, and that was a problem. Yeah, sometimes you find environments and they fit you in such ways, and then suddenly even the slightest changes can disrupt people's ability to adapt or just fit into their environment because for some reason something magically worked well for a particular disability that they had. And it can be the simplest of things, but then you take that away and their living situation becomes so much worse because of that one little thing. Like I'm actually rather fortunate because the place that I was forced to move into, objectively speaking, is nicer than where I was living, although it is smaller. So I had to put a lot of my stuff in storage at my mom's place. But it is objectively nicer, and I do like that there's less sounds, but I just got a new water heater, and the water heater is in the closet of my bedroom, and it whistles every now and then. Makes these high-pitched whistling sounds, like little... It drives me insane. Absolutely insane. Because that wreaks havoc with my autism. Our little whistling sounds like that. Or the fact that there's a lot of smokers in this building and my windows on the front side of the building where people like to go and smoke. So all that gets into my windows in the summer when it's warm and I'm trying to keep the place cool, fresh air. Yeah. Let's see. The baker's dozen's cat. This misogyny makes me want to throw up. Yes. I think I know what people are talking about. Horrific fanfic, yes. Looney Tunes 9000, just so you know. My name. 2 E's. Not a problem. Most people get that wrong. And yes, I do still need help with Frodo's vet bills if possible. He's been doing well. But he's at that age where he'll have like good times and then it's not necessarily stable, so I just appreciate it when it's there. But he's been eating like a significant amount over the last week every night, which is good. I can actually feel that he's put on a bit of weight. But I can also feel that there's a growth in his stomach that's getting bigger. So, and I'm also realizing that the food that I'm giving him is not the best food because he needs to be on food specific for cats with kidney disease, but he's not eating it. So then I mix in the regular cat food, which just doesn't help, but at least then he eats it. So would I rather him starve to death or pass from the kidney disease? Like, he's at that age where you have to make those horrid decisions, but there are ongoing medical expenses with him, with his medication and stuff. So any help people can give me with that would be greatly appreciated. PayPal link in the description box below, or if you're Canadian, you can send an e-transfer to SandeeLovas@gmail.com. Every little bit helps. Shamigli, taking a person's likeness and smearing it all over the net should definitely be a crime. Yeah, like you're not allowed to use other people's images to sell things. You know, I can't. Well, I don't know the nuances of it. Like I can draw a picture of Sam Cedar and sell that picture, but I can't use it to sell merchandise, I think. Like I wouldn't be able to use it to be like, here's my own, you know, here is Sam Cedar saying you should buy my coffee mugs or something. I'm not sure how that works, but I do know that there are issues within that you can't just use a celebrity's image to sell your products. And so to use a celebrity's image to sell porn, I think would not be much, you know, there should be laws. God, an annoying cat on my lap. He is going through like the worst Terrible 2's teenage years possible, where he is finding everything he can to destroy and make my life a little bit more hellish. I'm hoping he grows out of it soon. This is here is Abernathy. Say hi. Say hi. He's also quite big, fat-wise. That's the downside with Frodo not eating and being super skinny is I try to leave out food as much as I can, which means that Abernathy is bigger than I would like. But I'll deal with that, you know, after I no longer have to worry. Let's see. The anti-corporatus, it won't change until gay deepfakes of them get leaked. Yeah, a lot of men. Oh, just a sec. Abernathy, wait, no, get down from there. I can tell by the slightest sounds that he's doing something he's not supposed to be doing, like chewing on a cord. That cat. He's taking the push pins out of my wall. He's like trying to climb up the wall to take push pins out that I use to keep up my artwork. And then I get worried that he's going to like swallow one of those push pins or that I'm going to step on them. It is just, anyway. Yeah, I think, again, it's the same type of threat, the same type of objectification isn't there for a lot of men. So even if like gay deepfakes of them were to be released, some would be horrified by it, but I don't think, again, for a lot of men, especially privileged men who've had a lot of power, to them, it would be like, whatever. And not only that, they can now use it as an excuse if real images of them being gay that they might be trying to hide, they can now say, oh no, that's deep fake. That's not really me. Let's see. Shamigli, I don't see a problem with this stuff I jacked to. Yeah. It's like this type of, you know, horny fanfic should be allowed because I like it, is pretty much what he's saying. But if it was horny fanfic in a way that he didn't like it, then he might be able to see that there's a problem. Shamigli, they're all failed actors with delusions of grandeur. Yeah, I'm a failed actor too, but at least I didn't go right wing. Dino Rancher Knowles is a transphobe that called for our eradication. Yes, I've covered him before on that sort of thing. He comes up again because, of course, it's not just about trans people with him. He wants all gay people gone and queer people and yeah. let's see. My dogs are goth. One way I could help is I have a full unopened bottle of kidney medication that is for dogs and cats. It was $80, but I lost the dog before I opened the next bottle. I'm sorry to hear that. I don't know how you'd be able to get that to me, though. I don't have a P.O. box, and I'm not inclined to give out my address to anyone. But I appreciate the thought. Yes, Abernathy is a Bengal mix, which I did not know when I got him, which is why he's so pretty. I just thought he was a very pretty tabby. And a little trick with his name, it's not Abernathy, it's Abernathy. It's the way a 5-year-old would say it. There's a story behind that. I have a video about it. You could always check it out. So I spell his name Abernappby. Abernathy. It's the way a 5-year-old would probably say Abernathy. Ah, okay. I get too distracted by chat, but I want to get through more of these. Exactly, Sandy, you get me, says Shamigli. Yes, I know what you're talking about. I just assume it's everything then. Mini Dr. Sandy's sound is pretty good, to be honest. Oh, good. I'm... yeah. Audio issues with live streaming is pretty bad. And Azura, Sandy, an easy fix maybe is to use foam sound deafening panels. I've used an old mattress pad, soundproof noises. It's a temporary problem at this point because Frodo has to sleep in the bedroom with me with the door closed because that way he gets to eat his food overnight without the other cats gobbling it up. And it gives him time to just, because he tends to nibble, like he doesn't tend to just sit down and eat all of his food. So it's just me and him in the bedroom at night, and his litter bin is also back in that closet with the water heater. When I can close the closet door, it's manageable. But yeah, for now he's there. Oh, Maid is trending in Canada on Twitter. I'll look into that for maybe Sunday. I just saw that on my Twitter feed. Let's see. Oh, So Life had to turn up the volume. Yeah, I actually have the volume maxed out on my OBS, so I'm not entirely sure, other than me like speaking really close to the mic, how else I might be able to increase the volume. I tend to speak with a little bit more distance because my hands get a little bit all over the place. Anyway, let's see what's next on my docket. Yes. So another TikTok. So somebody saying she doesn't have the time, energy, or cash to enjoy her life outside of work. And these type of videos just always makes my heart hurt.
$300 a month. Why is it that I have to work 40 hours a week just so I can have a place to live?
Already the conservatives and the right-wingers is saying, oh, boo-hoo, you have to have a full-time job. But it's not a full-time job to live a life. As she said, it's for a place to live. It's not for her to live a life. And she gets a bit more into it.
40 hours a week makes me $2,000 a month, and my rent is $1,660. So I work 40 hours a week so I can have a 2-bedroom apartment and an extra $300 a month. Like, It doesn't cover my phone.
And some people would be like, oh, but a 2-bedroom apartment. Yeah, so what? You know, some people, we shouldn't be forced to say, well, if you have a full-time job, then afford a bachelor or afford a 1-bedroom. Some people are completely fine with minimalist apartments, with small spaces, but other people, especially if it's a place that you want to be your home, that you want to expand in and you spend most of your time in, so what if you want a bigger place? Like, I want a bigger place because I have a lot of collections, I work at home, things of that sort. But because I live on disability, I should be forced into what now? Tiny homes are becoming the trend? And I should shut up and be grateful that I get anything? Like, that's the thing about housing that a lot of people don't get, is that we shouldn't have to just be content with shoebox homes that are tiny beyond belief just to fill this capitalist need of more expensive rents, of getting people to work more, work harder, force people to work more, work harder, work longer hours, just to have a life.
Internet, food, you know? So not only do I not have any extra money, but just working makes me so exhausted that I don't have time either. Like, I get off work at 5:30, come home, and I'm just so tired.
And that I feel too, because, you know, especially I'm not great around people when I'm forced to be around people. So I can be fine in groups of people, crowds even, have people over when it's my choice, when I'm choosing to go to these environments. But at work, I don't have a choice when I worked in an office. There were people there I had to be around. I didn't have that option. And so for me to be in that environment for the workday was so exhausting that by the time I got home and unwind and just kind of decompressed from that workday, even though my job wasn't particularly like straining on me, it was just the social interaction aspect and the fact of being out there. By the time all of that happened, it's almost time to go to bed. Like, I had, you know, a couple hours in the evening to maybe get some chores done and stuff. I did have a lot more extracurricular stuff at the time because when I had that job, I actually had the money to afford some of that stuff. But I understand that some people can work that full-time job and then have a job that they absolutely hate that drains them even more, and then not even have extra money aside to do extra things. And so literally your life is just waking up, working, going to bed. Waking up, working, going to bed. That's not a life. You are literally just a part in a machine that's being worn down until you're broken. Nobody should be having to live like that. And then you have weekends or something, but you run into the problem that just as you're starting to really decompress, it's Sunday afternoon, evening. And then the anxiety will start creeping into you already. Like, you have no time to recover because the anxiety of the next morning you have to wake up and start that cycle all over again starts overwhelming you and burdening you. So then you can't even enjoy that little bit of free time that you might have on the weekend. Not everyone has that free time. Some people have, you know, work emails and stuff that they still have to get to. And that's the time where you do have to then like do your chores and all that sort of stuff. Like, there's no downtime. There's no time to explore your hobbies, explore your talents, to learn new things if that's what you want to do, to better yourself. And so you're living your life and it's very stagnant. You're not growing, you're not developing as a person. You're just staying the same. And that's no way to live a life. You should be able to explore who you are and find out what you can achieve, not just be ground down to nothing.
I'm so tired that, like, anything that I need to do outside of work, I then just push off to, like, the weekend. And I'm like, I'm just too tired to do this after work. I'll wait until Saturday. So then I end up with so much to do on the weekend that ends up having to be split into 2 days. So I have to do stuff on both Saturday and Sunday. So then I don't get a day off. I don't get a day to relax. I don't get to decompress. So it is really...
And that I feel so much. Like, I mentioned earlier that me doing this, you know, a live stream 3 days a week turns into 6 days of work, because when I clip it and stuff like that, that's like another days. Fortunately, though, I don't need to really decompress from it because I'm at home. I'm doing it at my own pace. I can take breaks. I have my cats. So for me to work 6 days a week doing this when I have other interruptions, it is still a bit of a strain, but it's not completely draining of me. Like, I still have time that I can do other things. I can go for my walks. I can chat with friends. I'm not being monitored. Nobody's watching over my shoulder. Nobody's demanding more of me and that sort of thing. And I don't have that extra social pressure draining me all day. So for me to do 6 days, like to work on video 6 days a week, isn't that big of a deal. Except sometimes I do want to focus on my art, and I have a hard time doing both art and video a day, which is why then I might skip a day of live streaming so that I have more time that I can maybe just work on my art. And I'm still trying to figure out that balance.
Really like working 7 days a week constantly. And I don't want to do that anymore, right? Like, I don't care how poor and miserable I would have to be, but I literally can't have a place to live without this, you know? Like,
and that's what a lot of people found out during COVID, during the lockdowns, was how nice it was to actually just be at home with your family and be taken away from that. And a lot of people realized that they would rather be broke, poor as all can be, than to go back into the situation where they never got to see their family. Because she looks quite young. How is she supposed to meet someone? Like, if she wants a family, how is she supposed to start a family? To raise a child when she literally has no time for herself? You know, to even just go on a date, to meet people, to hang out with a friend. And yet they want people to have families. They want people to have more babies and all that sort of stuff. When does she have the time? And what does that do to a child too? Like, to have a child, but then to never be able to be there for that child, to never help that child grow and stuff. It's not beneficial for the child either. These work weeks that, you know, the capitalist right wing demands that we do of people, because people just mock her for being weak. And she's not weak. And even to say this online is very strong of her to do that, very brave of her to do that, because this lets other people know that they're not alone, that they're not the only ones struggling with this horrible situation. And it takes a lot of courage to put that out there. But this isn't her being weak. It is literally her saying that she's at a breaking point. And that's the end throes of capitalism that we're in right now. So many people are at their breaking point that, you know, the life that we were told that we were going to have as kids, that you can do anything you want and all that sort of stuff. People are waking up, and now not even the bare minimum is achievable. Not even being able to go see your kid's baseball game for a lot of people is achievable. To watch a kid grow and or to spend time with your partner, to have a date night with your partner, or to go out on a date to find somebody new. Then what's the point of living your life being forced to be by yourself?
I don't know what to do. I'm not made for this.
Nobody is. That's the thing. Nobody is made to be working the way that we are. We weren't designed for that. That's not in our nature. We're social creatures. Some people can spend time by themselves, but eventually a lot of people want to spend time with other people. You know, we aren't made to just be a cog in a machine.
I don't have the money, time, or energy to enjoy my life outside of work, and I don't know what to do about it anymore, you know? I'm so tired.
Yeah, just like to me, that's so sad. And that's so many people's reality right now. Like, what's the point of living if there's no joy, if there's no happiness? Like, this is something that always gets on my nerve. You know, when people who are on fixed income, disability, or something have a luxury, a single luxury that they might like. I have a friend that every week, even on disability, the thing that she does for herself is gets a pizza. And then people will say, well, how dare you spend so much money on a pizza? You know, you should be spending it on other things. You're just wasting your money, blah, blah, blah. It's your fault that you're broke and you can't budget. Other people might be having Disney Plus because they like the programming on there. Like, some people might like going to swimming, you know, going to their local pool and swimming once a week or something. But we're told, no, 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 you're not allowed to have that. We keep on having to sacrifice every little aspect of joy in our lives just to keep capitalists happy. And then we're mocked when we point out that having a life that has no joy in it isn't worth living. Oh, sorry, I have a cat who's looking at those cords like they're spaghetti. They're not. They're not. Oh, now he sees the necklace and wants to chew on it. Ah. Oh. Okay. Let's check some of this chat. FG, this may already be a thing, but it'd be great if you could send a package for pickup at a post office so you wouldn't need to share your address. Doxing is scary stuff. Well, that's pretty much what a PO box does. Is it sends it to the post office and then you have to go pick it up. And that way you don't share your address, but it costs money to maintain those things. And then, like, there's no way you can't just send it to a post office because then without them knowing my address and contacting me, there's no way of letting me know. Like, I wish there was an easier way. Like, right now, the only thing I could say is that if you see something on Amazon, Canada, Amazon, that you want to gift me that isn't on my wish list, let me know, and then I could add it to my wish list. But that's not the same because a lot of people want to send something, you know, a little bit more personalized or something they made. And I appreciate the thought behind it. And I've done that for other people. You know, creators that I appreciate, I have sent them stuff. So I understand the desire to do it. But at this time, it's just not really an option. Abernathy is in quite a mood right now. The anti-corporate is, Sandy is right. I'm not sure what you're referring to, but yes, I'll just assume it's for everything. Azira, yeah, it's my fault I'm disabled and poor. Yeah. This is the life we chose. So many people just don't get it. They just don't get it. Hive sigh. My son is 19 dealing with this same burnout now. They refuse to just accept it. This generation might change things. Hiveside, well, I don't think I've seen your name in the Sandbox before, so thank you for coming out. And yeah, a lot of people, like, it wasn't like this all the time. Like, so many people of older generations are just like, oh, my day, we were able to have a job and go to school and do all this sort of stuff. It's not the same. It's really not the same anymore. You can't do that. And I don't know if the newer generations are being told that dream of you can do whatever you want to do when you grow up and you can be happy and all that sort of stuff. I don't even know if they're being told that dream anymore, because I'm pretty sure millennials that are raising kids right now are like, yeah, no, it's not happening. um, uh, but so many people are waking up to the fact that there should be more to life than just working for some corporation that will never care about you, that doesn't appreciate you, that you'll never grow as a person and just learn who you are. The anti-corporatist, isn't that wage slavery? Yeah. Hive sigh, no one is eating these landlords, and that meat is just there going to waste. Yeah, I know. They should be there should be like new grocery stores of like choose your what is it, proletariat or something like that. Choose your overseer. You have your landlords here, you have your CEOs there. You can go down different aisles of all the rich people and choose which ones you want to eat that night. Why not? The baker dozen's cat. My husband, AC, lives in a truck for work and doesn't get to come home often. That's horrible. My dogs are goth. I worked 2 jobs 7 days a week for many years and until my body and mind gave up. Yeah, a lot of the physical stress on people, like a lot of minimum wage jobs I can't do because they require you to stand all day, and I can't physically do that on my feet. The pain would just be way too much. And so many other jobs, like even just being in an office all day, every day, with your hands out, the carpal tunnel, the shoulder stress, the back stress, like it's destroying our bodies. We weren't meant to be in one position for hours upon hours a day. My dogs are goth. The US with their 6-week maternity paternity leave is gross. That's if they get that. I don't think everyone gets that. Oh, let's see. Rachel Atwood. Hiya, did you see my Twitter DM the other day? I saw it. I haven't really read into it. I'll get back to you on that. ADHD. I see this message. Look at my cat. Completely forgot that I looked at the Twitter. I'll try looking at it. Azura, yep, I have a whole bunch of conditions. IBS, yes, that's a rough one. I always said that in every office, there should be one washroom that's off to the side away from people, that are for people that just know they're letting loose. Because so too many times, because I can have IBS, like not all the time, but sometimes it hits, and when it hits, it hits. And I remember being at work, and I would literally like go down to the washroom, check, make sure nobody was in there. And I was already waiting to the point that I was in pain so that I could hopefully just get it all out in one blast. And then like literally as it's shooting out, I'm flushing the toilet to try to keep the smell down. But it'd be nice if there was just one washroom where people could go that's away from everyone else, where you could just go and not have to worry about how smelly or loud it's going to be. Because the thing is that a lot of the washrooms, like the washrooms in the office building I was in, was like right across from somebody's office. And it's like, Wow. And then sometimes when you even just walk into it yourself, like you walk into that cloud of vapor when you go into the washroom from somebody else, and it's like, whew, so it's not just me then, is it? So I always said, just for the sake of everyone's sanity and privacy, there should be one washroom that's away from all other people where you can just let it loose. It's just, nobody needed to know that. Oh. Articus Among Us. It wasn't even a courtesy flush. It was like literally as it was flushing, it was shooting down the drain. Like it was just one big, okay, sit down, heave. Nobody needs to know that. I also have a shy bladder. I don't like it when people can just hear me pee. And so that was another reason why I would try to go when nobody else was in the washroom. Or as soon as I went in, I would turn the fan on because the fan wasn't always automatically on, just to have that extra sound when I was trying to go pee. Anyway, oh man, I'm like a third through these. I don't know. Are you guys liking these kind of random one-off things? Because I have a bunch more to kind of get through. Actually, there's a cluster. Why don't I go through the cluster of tabs? Because a lot of them are just really redundant, and I don't think we need to actually like watch the videos. It's one of the things. Oh, I'll just show you what I'm talking about here. So, from CBC News, family medicine in Ontario is unsustainable. Provincial medicine medical associations warn. Burnt out family doctor closing practice. More than 6 million Canadians don't have a family doctor, report finds. And then, why these doctors support Doug Ford's plan for private surgical clinics. I don't know. Why would these three here that you see up here? Why? There's just something about them. Why would they be so interested in privatizing their services? Huh. Yeah. Like, none of these videos are particularly long, but I think, I've been over them. They're important to know. But the reality is they're not getting any better. Like, it's every day there's more articles about how our healthcare is being destroyed across the country. And so little is being done. Like, yes, this video is only 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes. This video, well, okay, this video is like 10 minutes long. But, like more than 6 million Canadians don't have a family doctor, report finds. There's only 40 million people in this country. Like that's, I don't math, but that's a large percentage that should not be without a family doctor. And then you have doctors that are closing their practices because they're burnt out. And a lot of this from the articles and videos that I've been watching is because of this amount of paperwork that they're being swarmed with that they don't get paid for. Because they get paid per patient that they see, which is part of the reason why they tend to just want to churn them out. Like you go in, you tell them your 1 or 2 issues, and then they move on to the next and the next because they get paid per person in there. But now they have all this paperwork to do, but if they don't have enough people to come in, they can't afford, their wages are being cut, and then they can't afford an assistant to do all the paperwork. So then it's on the doctor to do the paperwork. And it's like the video of the woman who's getting burnt out from her other job. It's just as bad or worse with a lot of doctors and what they have to do and what they have to go through. And they have to quit before they just break. And that's not a choice. And this is why we need more money in the public sector, why we need more doctors. We need to lessen the load of each doctor by having more family doctors, not less. But there's no incentive right now for family doctors to get into the medical field. But there is incentive for men like these to go into the private sector. Because, yeah, why these doctors support Ford's plan for private surgical clinics? Because these white privileged men will be paid a lot more. That's why. Instead, like, that's all they care about is, like, do they look like they're suffering from money right now? Like, let's be honest. These men, are they hurting for cash? Do you think that they're living with poverty right now? But, we have a lot of ORs, operating rooms in hospitals right now that are going unused because we don't have the staff in there to use them. We don't have the surgeons in there because they're not being paid their worth to be there. Instead, they'd much rather go to these private clinics where they get paid a lot more to do hip and knee replacement and MRIs. Whereas we have the operating rooms to do it in the public sector, but they're being underused. And that's part of the plan. It would not surprise me in the least to find out that these men had connections with Doug Ford. Wouldn't surprise me. The Doug Ford government is poised to give independent clinics a greater role in performing surgeries and scans currently done in hospitals, and some doctors are speaking out in favor of the controversial plan. Not shocking. CBC News did an in-depth interviews with 3 Ontario physicians who believe that criticism is misplaced. Oh, you done that with 3, huh? With 3 of them. This is when the CBC pitch bot on Twitter comes in and is like, yeah, 3 wealthy physicians, surgeons, think that privatization is a good, why privatization of surgeries is a good thing. We asked 3 wealthy physicians why. That's a CBC pitch bot right there on Twitter. Yeah. Can anyone say that they're surprised that these 3 men here would be like, no, let's privatize everything. How about? But I don't think I need to go through the details of all those videos and stuff. People are free to look them up themselves. I encourage you to, actually. It's important for Canadians to watch Canadian news. I've watched those videos and they all just tell the same thing. And I've covered it so many times on this channel. I'll cover them more times on this channel because, like I said, the one thing that I keep on going over and over, that if my channel can do one thing and one thing only, that would wake Canadians up to what's happening to our healthcare. It's so important that we get people aware of what's happening. Okay, let's see. What would people be interested in right now? Well, here, let's just do this one. Super quick. So it's important to stay plugged into municipal politics. Just plug into it. If you're lucky enough, you have somebody like this Matt Elliott, who seems to be very plugged into municipal elections or municipal votes and stuff like that in Toronto. And it looks like they're reporting on a lot of the motions and things being voted on. And if you can find somebody like that, great. If not, I encourage you to do the research yourself because it's so important to know what's happening in your own municipality. And that's also the thing that you have the most influence on. Like if you have a municipality that's voting a way that you don't want it to, it doesn't take that much pressure to pressure the council, the city council members and things of that sort to organize. I'm surprised more people aren't doing it in Toronto already with what Olivia Chow has been, letting the police department and stuff get away with. I imagine come the next municipal election, there's going to be a lot more fight for mayoralship in that city. But one thing that got highlighted, let's go back down to it. What was the one that I had highlighted? Yes, this one. Because then you also find out absolutely horrid things like this. Councillor Stephen Holliday has several motions, including one to make children pay fares for using the TTC, that's the Toronto Transit Commission. City Council reduced the 2024 operating budget for Toronto Transit Commission by $17.5 million. Such reduction to be offset by a reinstatement of fares for children under 12 as of March 1st. Go to hell, Stephen. Just go to hell. Seriously. Go to hell. Children who have to take transit to school in a city like Toronto, that's a lot of them. Quite often the ones that have to take transit to school is because their parents don't have time, because their parents are busy working those two jobs, those grinding jobs that, take them away from their families in order to keep a roof over their head, who maybe can't afford a car, who can't afford a babysitter and all that sort of stuff. So then you do have kids that might need to take transit. When I was a tiny little child, occasionally I would go on the bus all by myself. And to now say that those children, usually some of the most vulnerable, financially off children, have to pay to go to school is really outrageous. Because that adds up. That adds up a lot. I don't know what the current rate in Toronto is. It wouldn't surprise me if it's $4. Let's see. Toronto TTC fare. Go and quickly look it up. Because even when I lived in Toronto, it was raising all the time. And it's not affordable for a lot of people to just get a pass or something. Let's see, it is currently, what is the current TTC fare? $3.35 one way. So $7 every day that they need to go to school. Instead of being able to buy a lunch or something of that sort, they would now have to use it to go to school. Like even the parents having to spend that much more money. It's outrageous. And if you live in Toronto or know people who live in Toronto, don't tell Stephen to go to hell, but contact him and let him know how horrible he's being and that this isn't okay. That again, this idea of fiscal responsibility at the cost of what? At the cost of other people's well-being, their access to transportation. Not okay. Not okay. There are other ways to solve this problem, but having children now have to pay to get onto the TTC, not acceptable. I just wanted to vent about that one a little bit. Oh, Looney Tunes 9000, I'm going to a Zoom meeting for my job. See you later. Well, good luck in the Zoom meeting. And thank you so much for your modship. Okay. So let's start closing off some of these ones that I've gone over so I can start narrowing down which ones to go over. Did that one. Did that one. Did that one. Ooh, I've actually been through a lot. I like this being able to just close a bunch of tabs for a change. Let's see. Oh, a lot of these are really horrible, and it's getting late, so I'll try to stick to something that maybe isn't as horrible. Let's see. No, those are all in a section there. How about a couple of the follow-ups from the story that I covered in my last live stream about potentially needing to use government ID to access porn in Canada? Rachel Gilmore is a reporter, a journalist on Twitter. Absolutely amazing person. She makes amazing TikToks. I suggest everyone go follow her. I wish I could be half as articulate as she is in her TikTok videos, because then I'd be able to do TikTok. Her content is so concise and well put together, and wonderful person to follow on Canadian issues. But I'm not the only one to raise red flags about the idea of the government demanding that we have some sort of official ID in order to access porn in this country, because it's just a slippery slope into other things. And it's what sites then? Because you can see porn on Twitter. So does that mean that you have to have some sort of digital ID, some sort of government ID given over to Twitter in order to be able to use that? Like, I don't feel safe giving Twitter anything. I don't even give Twitter my birthday, which means there's a lot of content on Twitter I can't see. Like, it is, everyone is in agreement. Kids should not have access to porn. Nobody is arguing that. But the way the government is going about it is just so bad in so many ways. So Rachel Gilmore was also kind of covering this. And of course, the conservatives think this is a good idea. This ID would be a good idea. You know, having to do like facial recognition before you can enjoy your porn. But let's go to a couple things that she has posted about it. So Pierre Poilievre at a rally in 2023, I will never allow the government to impose a digital ID. In this instance, he was likely winking at conspiracy theory. Now, in the real world, Poilievre is suggesting ID would be required to watch porn. And this is the 2023 video. So she is replying to, or quote tweeting this: conservative government would require ID to watch porn. Poilievre. Tories currently back S210, which would require porn sites to check users' ages. Options include a digital ID system or a webcam scan of the user's face. Can you imagine? Like, forget about any sense of privacy. Like, to have a webcam scan your face before you can access porn? Absolutely ridiculous. And, you know, Poilievre is all on board for this. And this is a Senate bill. It's not a House bill, which is why you have the S there. And so here is his video saying digital ID is bad.
Answer your question. I will never allow the government to impose a digital ID.
Yep, saying I will never allow the government to impose a digital ID. So Rachel did make a full TikTok about this issue, which is really good and quick, so we can go over it. So she tweets out, there was a mixed reaction to the news that Poilievre's conservatives would require some kind of ID to watch porn. But the announcement also highlights something else, the perils of peddling in conspiracy theories. Let me explain why.
Associated with the Great Reset conspiracy theory. That's right. Pierre Poilievre just came out in support of a bill that would require ID to watch, including a designated enforcement authority for websites that fail to properly ID users. But the bill doesn't say how they would check this. Even in the debates, they basically just keep saying how technology has progressed so much and there's so many incredible ways that they could do this. But according to the Canadian press, options could include a digital ID system or services that estimate age based on a webcam scan of your face.
That is just... And then there's a very easy way around that for kids, too, is to print off a picture of their parent and hold it up in front of the webcam. that you can get around that quite easily. Like I was saying when I was talking about this before, this is a cultural issue that needs to be tackled as well. as to why kids are even wanting access to porn. Like there should be more sex appropriate sex ed or age appropriate sex ed in school. And parents should be taught how to monitor their children online to make sure that they're not accessing this sort of stuff, as opposed to something like this, which has a very easy workaround, as I just said. Print off the picture of somebody, put it up in front of the webcam. How is it to know that it's not a real person? Or to AI fake it? I don't know. It's ridiculous. And it's just a complete violation of people's privacy. And I don't want my webcam guessing my age.
It's another interesting position from a guy who says that he is anti-gatekeeper and pro-freedom. But it also sticks out to me for a different reason, because it shows the perils of peddling in conspiracy theory. Let me explain what I mean. Polyev has repeatedly used a lot of rhetoric that's associated with the Great Reset conspiracy theory. One of those is the idea of there being mandatory digital ID cards, which could be why Pierre made this promise.
To answer your question, I will never allow the government to impose a digital ID.
Oops. Some governments and global groups.
Conservatives do this so much, where they will say, in election season or something, I will never do blank, and then completely do that exact thing, and then just never acknowledge it when it's pointed out to them. Like Doug Ford very famously said over and over again that he would not sell off parts of the green belt. He then proceeded to sell off parts of the green belt. They just blatantly lie. That's what they do. That's what liberals do it too. That's what politicians do, is they just blatantly lie, and then they're never held accountable for those lies, and they should be. They should be. I went on a very big rant in a recent live stream about politicians of all stripes blatantly lying.
Have explored the idea of digital ID system. But most conspiracies start with a grain of truth and explode into something totally fake. In this case, the idea that mandatory digital IDs will be required to participate in society, which has been repeatedly debunked in various forms. But that hasn't stopped politicians from dog whistling these theories and promising that they are on the right side of them. This can be an effective way to whip up support among a very specific base, but it's also incredibly short-sighted. Conspiracy theories like the Great Reset are inherently anti-government and anti-institution. You can ride that wave of conspiracy into office, but if you actually intend to govern after riding that wave, you're pretty much inherently going to alienate yourself from that support and look like a massive hypocrite. Unless, of course, you intend to actually govern by conspiracy. And that prospect is even more terrifying. What do you think of all this?
Yeah, there's just... everyone understands the need to keep children safe from porn, but this idea of having some sort of digital ID in order to do it, just no. Because it again, it's the same like going into a money, currency-free, like moneyless system, where everything is done digitally through cards and things of that sort. And there's some cafes and restaurants and stores that no longer accept cash. And the people they hurt are the people who can't get access to a bank account or don't have a bank account, or quite often people who live with poverty. Not everyone can get a digital ID for whatever reason. Sometimes they're not tech savvy enough. They don't have the computer equipment. They don't have the resources. There are so many reasons that would prevent them. And so then what? Do they just get blocked from sites like Twitter? Do they not get to enjoy adult content? Because adults should be free to enjoy adult content if that's what they want to do. And this idea, and again, it's a scary, scary thought, because as some of the videos have pointed out, there's a digital handshake going on with that sort of thing. So, you have to upload your digital ID to Pornhub in order to watch some porn. So what happens if that gets hacked? Does that mean that people would then be able to get to see your history as to what kind of porn you've been watching? That would be some blackmail material right there. Not to mention, it's a privacy thing. Nobody should know that about a person. Unless it's something that person cares to share for whatever reason. But it's just so gross. And there's other things about digital online stuff that I've been trying to raise alarm bells about, but my channel is so tiny that people don't tend to notice yet. But hopefully my channel will grow and become big and strong, and when I make waves about something, it will cause a tsunami. That's the hope anyway. So there's that. So I will close those two tabs. Well, let's check the Sandbox. Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on it because I already talked about it, and people missed out on my last live stream because I was covering this topic of porn and acknowledged, I used to do phone sex. Not ashamed of it. Was a thing. Didn't work out for reasons I explained in that video. And in that live stream, only, I don't know if I'm going to do it again, any super chat sent in, I would have done in my phone sex voice, but didn't get any. Maybe another time I can try to do a fundraiser like that. Oh, looks like you guys are having an interesting conversation in here, and I don't always get back to watch the chats afterwards. I wish there was a way of just downloading the chat so I could read it, but because I used to be able to just go back to my videos and go through and watch the chat, but I just don't have the energy to do that now with videos that are lasting like 3 hours long and all that sort of stuff. So I try to catch as much as I can live. But I do end up missing a lot of context. Rachel Atwood, I love the feel of closing tabs after I finish a research assignment. Yes, it's nice to get them cleared because I have so many. And then always happens that I clear some, and then, the next day it's like, oh, damn it, what was that one I needed? It's kind of like the absolute anxiety you have when you accidentally shut down a browser with a whole bunch of tabs in it. Because I have multiple instances of the web page open because I have it so that if my computer shuts down, all the tabs that were open will open automatically. So it will come back the way it was. But I have like all these different windows with different tabs in it that if I accidentally close a window, they're gone. They're just gone. And it drives me crazy. And some people said, oh, you can do this thing where you just right click on it and you scroll down, you can close the window. Never do that, because if I just click on this one and I look, so you have close. Here, I'll show people what I'm talking about right here. Let's see, does it show up here if I do this? Yeah, so you can barely see it, but you see you have close here. But then you have this one right below it that says close other tabs. So if you accidentally click that instead of this one right above it, then you close everything but the tab you want to close. And then this one, close tabs to the right, whatever that means. Oh, and that was the good news I meant to get to too. Speaking of which, might as well just talk about the good news. So, breaking, the Ford government has officially repealed Bill 124. In a statement, the government says it was repealed in its entirety via a cabinet order. Repealing the bill was solved for the inequality of workers created by the recent court decision, the government says. Yay! Let's go here and let's do this. Yay! Good news! Good news! Yay! You cancel there. Yay! I mentioned that this was going to happen in a previous live stream because the Court of Ontario ruled that what Doug Ford did by passing Bill 124 was unconstitutional and violated workers' rights and all that sort of stuff and was horrible. But quite often, I don't believe it until I see it. And it was said that Doug Ford would repeal the bill in its entirety, which means that all those public sector workers would get the back pay they're owed. But apparently now it has actually happened. So that means those workers, providing Doug Ford doesn't fight it, should be getting all of that back pay. Yay! Woot woot. An unconstitutional bill was ruled as unconstitutional by our courts, and it did something. I've mentioned this before. I'll mention it again. I have more faith in Canadian courts than I do in American courts. Quite often, Canadian courts rule the right way, which is good. Unfortunately, Doug Ford is trying to change that. Now that I mention it, it was a tab that I was thinking of opening up. Let's see if I can find it quickly. I had liked it and recently. Let's see. Not going to spend too much time looking for it. Basically, Doug Ford is trying to... Oh, here it is. Premier Doug Ford says he's explicitly looking to appoint like-minded or conservative judges in Ontario. This was in response to a story from the Toronto Star. Premier Doug Ford just defended the appointment of two of his former staffers to a committee that selects judges by advocating for explicitly partisan judicial appointments as part of democracy. There are more checks and balances when it comes to how our court system works. It's a lot harder to pick judges based specifically on partisan reasons, because we're supposed to have nonpartisan committees, select them and narrow down the field, which Doug Ford is trying to change the selection process, because he, as premier or the prime minister of the country, they don't just get to pick someone to be in the court. They can't just say, my buddy here, I want them to be in court. They get handed a selection of people who have gone through the application process, who have gone through this nonpartisan committee, questionnaires, all that sort of stuff. And then that's been narrowed down to about 5 or 6 people that when an appointment comes up, that's handed to the premier or the prime minister, and they pick from that group. Which means we have a far better court up here than the Americans have. And quite often our courts vote the right way, but Doug Ford is trying to circumvent that, of course, because these courts also tend to vote against what he wants in the favor of people's rights. Because they vote based on our Constitution and they rule based on our Constitution, Doug Ford is mad. I didn't read this, but let's see what it says. Question, and 2 of your former staffers have been appointed to a committee selecting judges. It's been deemed blatant patronage. Are you okay with this? Premier Ford, 100% I am. We got elected to get like-minded people in appointments and by the rules. And you can't have lawyers picking judges, so you have to have citizens. I'm not going to appoint some NDP or some liberal. I've made it clear where I stand with judges. Okay, you're not supposed to pick people based on what party affiliation they have. It's supposed to be based on credentials. The justice of the peace, and judges, they're letting criminals out. You mean criminals like him? He should maybe want to keep these judges in. then if they're letting criminals out because Doug Ford is a criminal. This is probably why he wants them out as soon as possible. The ones that are ruling in favor of the Constitution and doing the right thing, because if they continue to rule that way, then Doug Ford's going to be in a lot of trouble. These guys are kicking in doors, putting guns to people's heads, handing over the keys. And guess what? We can catch them. We can find out that they're on bail for eight times. He should be grateful these judges were in power and stuff like that, and this judicial system existed when his brother and him were selling drugs. And this sounds so much like Doug Ford, like they really did. You can't fake his voice. It is just so, he has a certain way of speaking. How would you like it if someone kicked in your door, put a gun to your head, and all of a sudden you find out that this criminal did that? The criminal that did that is out on the streets the next day. It's unacceptable. It also doesn't work that way. So every single appointment, I can find a tough judge, tough JPs to keep guys in jail. And I say guys because 99.9% are guys. Oh, he's talking about the guys in jail. So all the people who commit crime are men, is what he's saying. Yeah. I'm going to do it. So, he's trying to be showing that he's being respectful to the feminists by pointing out all the crime is being committed by men. Men like him. I'm going to do it. So that's part of democracy. You voted a party in, and I'd say that no matter what party's in, if the Fed wanted to appoint liberals up in the federal government, that's up to them. I'm putting like-minded people that believe in what I believe in, keeping the bad guys in jail, and I'm proud of the job that they're doing, and I'm going to continue. Well, if you're proud of the job they're doing, then why bother tampering with the system as is? If you're proud of what's happening. Not to mention, it's those judges that would put people like him in jail, and he should go there. Anyway. Yeah. Okay, I think I'm done for stories right now. There's still a whole bunch of tabs open, stories that are important to cover. But let me know if you like this type of stream where it's just randomly a whole bunch of stuff, and I'll try to do more of them. At least maybe one out of the two. So if I do 3 live streams in a week, maybe one of them is just devoted to these like odds and ends and all the trends. But let's check the Sandbox. Crotchety, there's no way these porn sites can keep from being hacked and losing that identity info. Yeah, so much wrong with that. Soul Life, Pornhub won't show you anything in ID states, and it says exactly that when you visit the states, that's dangerous. Well, that's the thing. Pornhub is threatening to block its services in Canada. Crotchety Polyev is probably salivating at the idea of blackmailing people for watching porn. Who knows? There's just so much that can go wrong with this. My dogs are gone. Sandy, what is the name of the TikToker? Rachel. So I closed the tab. I follow her on Twitter. Can find her really quick for you. There we go. Rachel Gilmore on Twitter. She is at Rachel Gilmore, award-winning journalist. Yeah, really appreciate or encourage people to go check her out. So on TikTok, she is Rachel_Gilmore. And on Instagram, r.Gilmore. But yeah, go check her out. She's great. Mm. My dog's like, oh, there are programs you can police what your kids watch. Do that and leave the adults uh, live. Yeah. A lot of that is on parents and educational institutes and stuff like that to make sure that they have the programs in place, that they're monitoring their children, but that they're also teaching their children why they shouldn't be watching it. Like, maybe teach children why they shouldn't be watching porn at their ages. That might be good. Crotchety, in Canada, the colors are swapped. Progressive, conservative. I have a YouTube short about that. Yeah, the reds and the blues are swapped, and the new Democratic Party is orange. Yes. But yeah, you can watch out my YouTube short about how it confuses me with the liberals being red and the conservatives blue, but the Democrats are blue and the Republicans are red. Screws me up. Rachel Atwood, thank you so much for the $2. Say Slava Ukrainia in call gal voice, please. Slava Ukrainia? I don't know how to do 2 words in a voice. Thank you so much for the $2. Soul Life, thank you so much for the $5 sticker. Really appreciate it. And it's a very cute little fox there. Atticus Among Us, thank you so much for the $2. Really appreciate it. Rachel Atwood, YouTube wouldn't let me type phone text. Slava Ukrainia. I don't even know if I'm saying that word right. I'm horrible at this. Let's see. Atticus Among Us. Dang, I sent a super chat with my phone. I feel like such a big boy now. I can't remember if I've ever sent a super chat to somebody. I think I have once or twice. Crotchety, yeah, we don't have so much problems like the American Supreme Court, state and federal, overruling decision order, reframe under biblical terms. Yes, I'll probably get more into that in my next live stream where I'm talking more about Next Benedict and some related stories. Just horrible stuff. But I do have a lot more faith in our courts. It's just a matter of if they get listened to, because quite often, like, the courts have ruled in favor of Indigenous peoples getting reparations or, things of that sort. But then the government just outright refuses to pay. Or they appeal and then they just outright refuse to pay. So, but quite often the courts do rule the right way when it comes to following the Charters of Rights and Freedoms here in Canada, which is a good thing. And that's why our system on how we select judges and stuff is a lot better. David Dole did a video on how that exactly happens ages ago, but I'm sure if you go to his YouTube channel and look it up, you can find it. But it is a much better process here than it is in the States, and the outcomes are much better because of it. And the thing is like, if you look at the federal laws and stuff like that, it is pretty good. Abortion rights for anyone at any time, no matter what. It's the most liberal abortion rights in the world. But then you have quite often conservative province leaders, premiers, finding ways to work around it. So while it's on the books, we have a lot of rights and things of that sort. In practice, they're not necessarily there. So it's important to keep plugged in and keep finding them and fighting them on that. Because it's great to have rights on paper. It's better to have them in practice. Oops. Rachel Atwood, Premier equal governor, more or less, right? I think so. Yes, we have the federal government, which is countrywide, and then Premier is the head of the state. So when the state selects somebody to be the state government, that is our provincial government. Also, we don't elect senators in this country, and we don't have senators on a provincial level. We have an upper and lower house in the federal level, but not on provincial levels. My dogs are goth. Not sure if our premiers get homes, though. They definitely don't get mansions. I believe they just get housing allowances, which is more than the entire check of what a person on disability gets, just for housing. Just for housing. I don't think there's a residence specific for premiers. Hivesci just found me on Twitter. Can I send you a petition to remove Owasso Superintendent Ryan Walters from office? Sure. I'll go find it, and I'll probably then add it into the story when I cover it more on Sunday. Yeah, I covered, since you might not know, since you seem to be new to my Sandbox, I covered it in fair detail in my last stream. And this story definitely strikes a chord with me because I am also non-binary. And seeing what happened to Next just rips me apart. Really, it just horrible. So definitely a story that I'll be following up on more. Yeah, it's the guy who put Rychik on the library board. Yeah, I know. She... I covered her appointment in a different video. I mentioned it in the last video, but it's all going to come around again because it's all tied in. So lots more to cover on that story in my next live stream. Soul Life, just like calling an embryo a child, so much can go wrong. It's a right-wing thing. I know. Wow. That ruling. Like, that is something that ideally I would cover on my channel, but there are some issues that I cover that are American-centric. But I want to cover more Canadian-centric stuff, so I pick and choose American stories a little bit more as to which ones I cover. And the one with the ruling of the embryo as children, I don't really have much more I can add to it that, you know, the Humanist Report, David Dole, The Serfs, the Majority Report, like all of them, they've covered it. And I don't think I have much more I can add to it. Whereas they haven't necessarily covered in detail what happened to Next Benedict. I know the Humanist Report has covered it, and it wouldn't surprise me if the Serfs have at this point. But I think it's important to have somebody like me who's non-binary to also cover that important story. So when it comes to American stories, if there's something that I really feel that I can add from a personal perspective, then I might cover it. But other sensational stories, like, yeah, sure, I could say a lot about the embryo story, but it's not an issue here in Canada. Slava Ukraina is what Rachel Atwood is saying, is how it's pronounced. Slava Ukraina? I'm still probably not saying it right. See, the thing is I'm dyslexic and I have a hard time reading words I haven't seen before sometimes, but also English is a horrible language. There's so many letters that you just don't pronounce or pronounce differently depending on the word. French is worse, though. Gotta admit, French is so much worse for that. Atticus Among Us had a strange thought. What if the right wing started a scared straight version with porn and did a deep dive trying to scare the kids away? Don't think that's going to happen. They usually do, try to keep adults away from porn. I don't think they're too concerned about the children. Grossly, sadly. Rachel Atwood, would you go on Leftist Mafia if given the opportunity? I've asked. Yes, I would. Crouchety, good point about having the abortion rights in practice and not only on paper. Yeah, I've covered that issue a bunch of times on my channel. I have a much older video essay that I did on this too, where, yeah, abortions are completely legal at any stage for any reason, if you can get one. Like, if you can find a place that actually practices it, you won't get charged. It's legal if you can find a place that you can get it done at. But there's lots of restrictions. There's financial burdens because it's not necessarily covered under universal health care, especially if you have to travel to a private clinic to get it done, or out of province to get it done, or out of country to get it done. If it's not a life, how does it swim? Yes. I know what you guys are talking about there. I have some things bookmarked on that that I might get to. I don't know. Crouchety, growing up in Canada, I have never heard anyone say vote blue, red, orange, maybe green, because they are literally called Green Party. Yeah, we usually don't tie it to color too much, although there has been reference to an orange crush that happened in particular in Quebec one year, where a whole bunch of their liberals were replaced with NDP, and it was referred to as the orange crush. Rachel saying Francesca spoke about it today in the Situation Room. Yeah, like I imagine there are people who are covering Nexa's story because it is, such a tragic story and poignant for everything that's happening right now. But it's also important to have people who are non-binary speak on that issue, and that's why I feel like that's something, even though it's an American story, that I can really touch on and bring some perspective to. Hello, Adrian Vixen. Welcome to the Sandbox. I'm on the way of wrapping up right now. BKK, let's help suggest Sandy on Leftist Mafia. Yeah, if you guys were to maybe keep on putting bugging them about it, it might help my my chances of actually getting on. Adrian Vixen, they're classifying queerness as pornography to criminalize us. Yes. All the laws down in the States with Project 2025 coming out and stuff. Just so scary. So scary. And then people think we're safe up here, but I'm going to show in the next live stream, not always the case. Far from it. Rachel Atwood, apparently abortion in the UK is a lot less universal than many of us tend to assume. Yeah, it's really difficult to get here in Canada. Oh. let's see. So, yeah, let me know in the chat if you like these kind of where I just go over a whole bunch of random stories and try to quickly get through a bunch. There's still a bunch that I wanted to get to, and then maybe one of the 3 live streams a week I can do this. It's a lot less prep that I have to do for that, because normally, I was mentioning this at the beginning of the stream, when I put together a stream, I guess it's my style, I like to put it in a narrative, like a story narrative. So I like to have like a beginning, middle, and end to it. So I try to find a whole bunch of articles or tweets referencing it, but that in a way that it flows naturally. And then I put them all in order and stuff, and try to think of things that I'll say to all of it. And so it can take me a very long time to prep for a long live stream. So this is a little bit easier, as in it's just a whole bunch of one-offs that I usually keep in the docket for one of my regular shows in case I, run short on things to say. But as I've been going on with these live streams, I've been learning more and more. That's not a problem. Me talking, not a problem. I'm finding things to say. And quite often this idea of me keeping my live streams to 2 hours. Yeah, it's already 2.5 hours. And I'm just kind of trying to unwind right now. So yeah. Speaking of which, I haven't had dinner, so I should probably really just wrap up on this. So let's do the whole closing. Nope, that's that picture photo, but there's this picture. He's doing well right now, which is good. Hopefully he stays doing well for a bit. But any help with Frodo's medication and ongoing vet expenses are greatly appreciated. PayPal link in the description box below. E-transfers for Canadians, SandeeLovas@gmail.com. Greatly appreciated. I do art. Very soon I'll be able to reveal my last masterpiece, which I'm very happy with, and I think it's going to impress the hell out of everyone. Which, yeah, it's an amazing drawing that I did. I can't wait to show it all to all of you. I have the progress video made and everything already. So I'm just waiting for the right time to show everyone. And I think everyone's going to be super thrilled with it. It's so nice. It's a good drawing. So I can't wait to show everyone that. But in the meantime, go to my website, check out my art. Pass the word around about my art. I'm still looking to hopefully do commissions that I get paid for. I have some contacts. You can find me primarily on the hostile fart sauna known as Twitter. Well, okay, known as X, but I still call it Twitter. I'm on the other ones, not as much. If you can, please support my content by becoming a patron. Every little bit helps. I'm doing a lot of work right now, and I don't get that much money in return, which, I'm doing this for the cause, spreading the progressive message, but I also need to pay for groceries. So, yeah, every little bit helps, but I also understand times are tough. If you are a patron and you can't afford to be one anymore, you don't have to explain it. You don't have to apologize. I understand. I really do. I completely get it. And I hope that you're in a position where you don't have to, start cutting off things like that in your own life in order to just keep your head above water. And yeah, I think that's it. Just one more quick last check. Yes, please like and share this stream. In the comments section, make sure you comment, like other people's comments on all the clips I'm releasing. Please comment on them, like and share them. Help get them in the algorithm. Thank you so much to all the wonderful mods for keeping the sandbox clean of turds. Because I don't want my sandbox to be turned into a litter box. Ha ha ha. It's late. So who are people recommending I send people to? I think there was a Robert G, and is it is it non-commitment or anti-corporatist on right now? People are recommending. I saw some names of people I recommend go to after this. So Life saying our chat friend Robert G has a live going right now. When this is over, we should ask to surprise them with a raid after this. Yes, I don't have a link to Robert G stuff, but sure, go check out Robert G after this. Is it on Twitter, on YouTube, or Twitch? Soul Life, you're a mod. You should be able to put a link. Oh, yes. I also have an Amazon wish list that if you just want to do a one-time thank you or show your appreciation, you can purchase something off that. There's so many things to select from, things that will actually help build my YouTube studio, art supplies, cat supplies, also just sweet treats to make me smile. I've recently added a bunch of chocolate. Easter is my favorite candy holiday. There's so much candy that comes around only on Easter that I absolutely love. So you can buy me bags and bags of mini eggs. That is my absolute favoriteest chocolate in the whole wide world, are mini eggs. And one bag goes a long way because I don't binge eat. I eat little bits here and there and they keep me happy. And then there's even like these ones that I really love. They're the Reese's Pieces ones that are so yummy. And there's so many other Easter chocolates and candies that I love that I can't get other times a year. So I'll add them as I see them. But I haven't seen all of my favorites on Amazon. So if you can, every little bit from Amazon helps the Amazon wish list. I hate supporting Amazon, but you know, if you purchase the stuff for my YouTube studio from there, then you're actually helping me take down Amazon by using Amazon. Because, yeah, I hope for the day we no longer have those evil corporations. Yes, I will say hi to all my kitties. And I do find peace in between the videos and stuff. Good for Gabby. Going through Deep Space Nine right now is one of the good ways of doing that. So Life has included the link for Robert G. So please go check out Robert G. Let's see. Okay. Yes, I do like Cadbury eggs too. I don't have them on the Amazon wish list yet because I'll check after this to see about adding some of the Cadbury eggs. Because I don't think you can buy just one. And I don't need like a bucket of them. So Life, don't worry about posting links during these. Looney Tunes does it all the time, and just saying. Okay. Salut, à la prochaine. Thank you for watching and stay tuned. I'm Sandy, wishing your tomorrow is better than your today.